I'm going to ask each of you for specific ways that you would help to create jobs in the state. And I'll start with Ms. Nahavian this time.
So I firmly believe that any budget that is passed in this state, from now until we get out of this recession, must have a jobs component to it. And we must attract jobs as a state. And this day, under the circumstances of a 2/3 majority for budget, what we have as an option is tax incentives for businesses to be able to hire more people and start creating more jobs and more fields. In the TV film industry, we've been able to do that with Paul Krikorian passing that legislation that brings in, that costs $100 million a year, but we get $500 million back in revenues. So that's a smart investment. And those are the kinds of tax incentives where it's smart credit, it's focused, and it has revenues to the Treasury. That is what we have to do right now. We have to target middle-class jobs. We have to target creating green jobs, middle-class jobs. I'm not interested in subsidizing large corporations, but I am interested in those who can demonstrate, like the TV productions, that they are able to increase the amount of folks that they hire and bring in so that we can increase those who are employed. If we are not employed, it not only hurts the economy, it hurts the families in terms of their stability, and it definitely hurts the economy. People don't have jobs, they're not able to go and spend money, and the economy really gets stuck. So the tax incentives and middle-class manufacturing jobs is what we have to be able to bring in. And I see my life.
Okay, I'm going to go to Shaheen next. Same question.
I would definitely say that the new technology definitely should be encouraged. Filming industry should be encouraged. However, encouraging doesn't necessarily keep the jobs in California. We see that laws are being passed, ordinances are being passed, nevertheless, when there's no money. And when there are restrictions and additional taxes on businesses and additional requirements on employers, the employees will no longer have their jobs, and employers will eventually, as it is the situation today, will export their firms to either neighboring countries or even further. What I believe to do, we should be even starting to think about the possibility of getting outside money invested in California. And today, we should look into what our friends can do in Middle Eastern countries. The oil-rich friends of U.S. can invest in our country. That should be one of the ways we need to look into the possibilities. We have treaties with them. We have military agreements with them. Why is it that we cannot have financial and or economic agreements with them? And you're looking at one candidate here who speaks 5 languages, so definitely my knowledge of the Arabic language will come in very handy if the time comes, and we should be able to not only support them militarily, not only support them in establishing democracy in their countries, but also we should be able to encourage them to invest in our communities and in our state.
Thank you. Mr. Gatto.
Okay, so the question was specifically what can we do to make sure that we create jobs and that we make sure that California is a place where businesses want to stay. There are some specific ideas that I have, and I'll share with you just a few of them. The first one is I think we need to look into making our tax system in the state a little bit more business friendly. So currently, California businesses, and as some of the small business owners in the room will know, California taxes businesses based on the number of California jobs that they have. I mean, think about that. We penalize businesses for employing Californians. And it's part of a complex system in terms of how we weight the different formulas for how we assess a business's tax base. But I'd like to give more weight to the other factors so that we don't penalize California businesses for employing Californians. The other thing that I'd like to see is a concept of an enterprise zone taken statewide. So right now, enterprise zones are this concept that if we take an underperforming area and we say, hey, this is an area that we think could thrive, and it could be a generator, it could be an economic engine, we'll create an enterprise zone in that area, and we'll make sure that it's a place where we give incentives for businesses to locate. Well, I'd like us to take a deep breath, and for us to identify as a legislature and as Californians, which industries are the biggest drivers of jobs in California. One of my colleagues mentioned the entertainment industry. There's many others. I'd like us to say to those businesses, we value your presence in California, and make sure that we create a sort of an enterprise zone statewide where the biggest employers in the state, whatever they are encouraged to stay here and to continue to employ Californians. I think there's also an education component of it. I think our community colleges must become centers for workforce development. We need to make sure that California is a state that continues to, and quite frankly does a very, very good job at, making sure that our students are trained for the key jobs that are really going to be good jobs and well-paying jobs in the future economy. The final thing that I'd like to say is I think we could benefit from some streamlined regulations, and I think that that's one of the many things that I'd like to work on. So thank you.
Thank you.